In the first episode, I went over random thoughts about what was kind of going through my head for this streamer. In this episode, we're going to put those thoughts on paper and kind of get an idea of what this fly is going to kind of look like. So welcome to episode 2 of the streamer design video series, The Sketch. We're going to have to get a little creative here. I don't know if you noticed, but I have an overhead cam here that's going to show what I'm actually drawing as I draw. Now, first things first, I am far from an artist. So totally feel free to make fun of me in the comments. But I do have a really good idea about how I'm going to sketch this fly out. My kid drew that sticker. So what I've done is taken the belly bumper and traced it onto this on a few different pages. So you get it. So we're gonna go step by step versus just drawing the whole fly out at once. And hopefully this overhead camera will help kind of get an idea of what we're doing. Sketching it out in this way is something I didn't do with the knucklehead or knuckle deep. I just literally sketched those out about how I wanted the silhouette to look, and then I built the fly from there. But I thought it was a better idea to build the fly as we draw it out, and that way I've got basically a step-by-step instructions on how to tie my fly whenever I get ready to go to the vise to tie it. Could be stupid for all I know, but I thought it was a good idea. But first of all, weight placement, and this is one thing that I'm not 100% sure exactly where we're gonna land. So the farther forward we put the weight, the more it's gonna angle the fly down and help offset the buoyancy of the foam on top of the fly, the knucklehead portion of it. So my first instinct is I think I want to start with weight right here in this region here. I just think that's the better first place to put it. We're gonna put lead here, okay? So we have lead there. Next is something that I'm probably gonna have to feel out in the tying process, maybe a little bit more than the sketching process. I think I want some material here that will move up the hook and cover the weight, but I don't know what that material is right now. I don't know if it's gonna be longer fibered material like polar chenille. I don't know if it's gonna be ice dub. I really don't know what this is right now. So I'm gonna have to kind of tweak this a little bit as I go to get an idea. So right now what I'm kind of feeling is a little bit of like starting around in here, a little bit of longer fibered materials to kind of cover this, and it's gonna be flashy. So I don't know if it's gonna go long like this, but this stuff is gonna be flowy. When it gets wet, it's gonna move to the back and help create a little bit of a taper and a little bit of a belly taper as well. So after I have the flashy material on this part, this is where I really want to do a shank. I'm not 100% sure that this is going to work at all. I think it may end up messing with the hook bend. It's not going to close the hook to where we can't hook a fish by any means, but I just want that extra little movement, not an articulation per se, but just that extra movement to help the tail, which is going to be feathers, have that extra movement, just that extra something. So right now I'm going to add a shank to this. Once I sat down and actually drew this is the first time I've ever drawn this at all. So we added a shank right here in the last 2 steps, and I was going to build a tail off of the shank. But I think that shank is going to have too much movement and cause issues with the hook bend. So what I think I need to do is take a step back from the shank and go a step before that and add bucktail before the shank. Hear me out. I'm gonna add bucktail to this right here before the shank. So what that's gonna do is the bucktail will help the shank not have quite as much movement, but still still have that extra something. I may be wanting to put a shank in this too much. We'll see. I don't know, but I love that extra movement that having an articulation point, a breaking point gives in a fly. I love how much extra swim and movement you get out of it just by adding a shank. So bucktail first. Now we add a shank. Just making that shank a little thicker so we know what it is whenever we get ready to sit down and tie it. So we have underbody and bucktail to keep everything away from wrapping around the hook bend. So now off of this shank, we're gonna add the saddles and probably flash as well. So I'm kind of thinking feathers coming off of here. With this shank, these feathers are gonna move that much more. I love this idea. Again, I'm still maybe 70-30 on if this shank is gonna be what we need. It may be overkill. I may be trying too hard just to put a shank in this thing, but I just really, really want one. I know it's gonna give extra movement, but what I don't know is if it's gonna work with the rest of the fly. I should have moved my fly forward on the page. I'll do that on the next page. Move it forward, we have room. This is a learning process. We're feeling it out as we go. So on this previous step where we added the saddle hackles, we know we're gonna add flash in this tail too. So I'm just gonna add like some flash back here just to call that good. So officially, we're at the point where I don't know how this is gonna work. My first instinct is we're gonna need to palmer some marabou around the hook to get the bulk and the body and the shoulders of the fly that we really, really want. The majority of the fly is gonna be tied on this part of the hook. So we are now talking about this part of the hook here. I think our shoulders are gonna come off here. And it's gonna go around the hook this way, if that makes sense. Okay, creating a little bit of depth, just creating bulk. We need a little bit of bulk so it's not just paper thin and skinny. It's not an eel. It's a bait fish. At this point, I'm a little stumped. I don't know if I should go ahead and just build my head now, but I think we need a wing on top to help the fly swim right and correct itself just that much more. Let's reverse tie a wing that's gonna go past the marabou. We know it's gonna go past the marabou. Something like this. Off the marabou, creating that wing that we're looking for. And I'll be honest, probably gonna put some flash in here too, so. Okay, a little bit of flash. So now we've got a little bit of a profile and we kind of have an idea of how things are gonna go. I think we're ready to move on to the knucklehead. This is the easy part of the head. I know we're gonna do the knucklehead just off of that. And then underneath will be laser dub. So it'll help create the body underneath. The laser dub will flow right into the marabou and just work with it. Just go with it. Just keeping the undertone of the body a certain color, a lighter color, be it yellow or white or whatever that happens to be. So I'm gonna kind of redraw this and maybe hopefully redraw it just a little prettier? I don't know. Again, totally please feel free to make fun of my artistry in the comments because, yeah, but this is exactly what was in my head. It is to a T what was in my head. I do have options if the shank doesn't work. I can just completely remove the shank and leave the bucktail. Done. It's a non-issue. So if it doesn't work, I do have a backup plan. It's not going to be a big deal. I just really want the shank to work. I told you I'm not an artist. But I hope you liked following along on the sketching of this. It's something that I've never done before. I've never done it in this style. I really like how this thing is laid out. I really, really do. So the next video, we're going to sit down and source materials. We're gonna find the materials that we're gonna do this. We're gonna maybe get some color combos together, and I've already got some color combos in my head, but I know what color combos I want. I just don't know the exact materials, especially like the wing and everything like that. So the next video will be sourcing materials and getting a feel for how all these materials are gonna work together and everything like that. And then after that, we tie it. I mean, like, we sit down to tie it. So yeah. So subscribe if you wanna be notified every time I put out a new video, which will obviously let you know when I put a new one of these out. And like and share this thing. This video series is fun, and I'm really, really having a good time with it. So Jeanette just left the room and she was like, "You're really excited about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." So I'm just like a little kid. I mean, other than that, yeah, here we go.